feel like, people are acting like maybe you've had a little bit too much to think lately, and that maybe Reed Coverdale needs to be corrected.
Government power is illusory. There is no such thing as government power. If government power was a real thing, none of us would speed. The reality is what really exists is what we are willing to accept.
But if you think you're going to win people over by stating commonplaces that they can also get in the other parties, you're just selling the other parties.
Look, I'm with all you guys. I mean, I think all of these people should be, tried and executed, and they're just all war criminals.
I'm for tar and feather.
For me, one of the worst things was, that the government had the gall to start defining businesses as essential or non-essential.
As a kid, I was brought up to believe heroin users lock them up, throw away the key, they live on the bridges, they steal all day, they're burgling all day to finance this habit. I didn't understand the root causes. But once I got in prison, they told me predominantly they were molested as kids. How come I don't hear Bill Maher going on and on about how stupid and horrible Judaism is? He only picks on Christians and especially Muslims. Same for Harris and Hitchens.
Look, I mean, oil is still priced in dollars. Major OPEC nations are accepting U.S. currency for their oil. So people around the world that want to buy that oil need U.S. dollars. Especially on the matters of war, it is insane to me how reckless our politicians can be.
And then all of a sudden he's rehabilitated, and the fact that he's a mass murdering war criminal is forgotten about, and people are like, oh, he's a cute old sage who's good friends with Ellen. And it's like, no, this guy's a fucking murderer. He deserves to be in a dungeon.
There were no torpedoes in the Gulf of Tonkin. There was no Spanish mine at Havana Harbor. The Lusitania was smuggling weapons to Great Britain. Pearl Harbor was not a surprise, and Saddam did not have nuclear weapons. So deal with it.
Hey guys, happy new year. I'm coming to you from the middle of nowhere in Colorado, so hopefully the Wi-Fi works well enough and you guys can hear me and I don't freeze up too much. But yeah, last day of 2021. It's been quite a year. I think it's actually been the best year of my life, and I bet there's a lot of people who can't say that this year. It's been a pretty tough year for most people with inflation, lots of people moving away from their homes because their governments decided to go totalitarian. Just here in Colorado yesterday or last night into this morning, I guess there's this huge fire that burned like 500 homes, 30,000 people were evacuated. So there's definitely a lot of shit going on out there that a lot of people have total justification to be completely upset about, and it kind of puts things into perspective for the rest of us. But specifically for me, it's been a really amazing year. I always wanted to, I always wanted to make a difference somehow. I felt like growing up, I made small impacts personally on my friend and family's lives, but I didn't feel like I was making any sort of impact on a larger scale. And I've really tried to do that this year, and I think it's been successful. And I don't really know how many minds I'm going to be able to change, but it's almost more just cathartic for me to do it, to feel like I'm trying to make a difference, even if it doesn't actually end up tipping the scale at all. It kind of takes a little bit of the guilt off my shoulders, and that's kind of why I do it. But getting to go to several events this year, I guess I went to 3, to Pork Fest, and then to Freedom Fest, and then to the Tom Woods 2000 event. It was, I don't know, it was really cool to meet a bunch of people who were inspired, people who I had actually changed. That really just meant the world to me, that people would come up and tell me that they watch the 4 Horsemen, or they watch every episode I put out, or whatever it is, and that I inspired them to be different. I've gotten messages from people who've decided to become truck drivers because of me, people who have people who I've known for a couple decades who are like hard right wing evangelical Zionist types who have changed their minds because they've watched my show. Um, it's just been pretty amazing to be part of this, and it wouldn't have been possible without all you guys supporting me, and then without all the people who are willing to come on the show and talk. Um, it really wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it was going to be. You just you just kind of ask people if they'd be willing to come on and talk about whatever their expertise is, and most people, it didn't take much at all. They would just do it. Some people you had to have references for because they were bigger names, but once you have someone who's on the slightly lower tier, if they can vouch for you, it's a shoe-in. You know, last year I was talking to, friends I had on Twitter who had, I don't know, 100 followers or something. And this year I was talking to Abby Martin, Peter Schiff, Nick Gillespie, Dave Smith, Tom Woods, Ryan Dawson, Kim Iverson. It's just been absolutely crazy. And I think that the void that I kind of filled is I'm just kind of I don't know, just a blue collar, down to earth type of dude who understands how a lot of this works, but I don't pretend to be a scholar. I don't pretend to be someone who has been able to study this for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours like other people, but I sort of just understand what is going on. So I can be like a bridge between the working class blue collar people and then the people who do this all the time. And unfortunately, I think there's been a disconnect there for a long time because sometimes you have someone who knows how to speak the language of the common man, but you still don't resonate the same way as someone who actually is a blue collar worker. So you can have someone like Trump who kind of broke through that wall and was able to resonate with the working class, but he himself was not actually a working class guy. And then you got people like Mike Rowe who do great work, like the Dirty Jobs show and Returning the Favor and all that type of stuff. But even he isn't actually a blue collar guy. He's actually someone who has a very different skill set and he just uses it to promote blue collar work. So it's been really cool to be someone who is literally where the rubber hits the road and try to convey some of these ideas about foreign policy or libertarianism or religion, even when I get into that occasionally, and just bring them to a kind of more mainstream audience. Because there are a lot of people who probably wouldn't be able to sit down and watch Adam Fitzgerald for 2 hours because they just wouldn't even know what he's talking about because it's so high above their knowledge. But they could watch me having him on the show, and then that can be a bridge for them eventually to go watch him and understand what he's talking about. Or the same with like Tom Woods or I don't know, a lot of these people. So it's been a real honor to be able to do that, and I really do enjoy it. I'm going to keep my employment anonymous still, but I want to thank my boss for being flexible with this because he's made it really easy for me to do the podcast and stop early if I have to. I took a ton of time off this year to go to different libertarian events, and I really actually enjoy what I do for work, and it's cool to show it to the audience and kind of bring a down to earth aspect of the show. And it's just been a really good mix, and I'm really thankful for that. As far as my success in podcasting, like I would mostly attribute it to I'd have to say Dave Smith and Ryan Dawson. Those two guys, they've just done a ton to support me. I know Ryan's been booted off of like everything, so it's harder for him to actually support me, but he's shared my videos on his website. He's gotten great guests for me, like Mike Rivero, Sean Atwood, and he's brought a lot of you guys over to me. I know a lot of guys watching right now are probably Ryan Dawson fans, so huge shout out to Ryan. And then Dave, obviously he is still on a lot of the big platforms, and he's given me a ton of support that I'll never be able to repay him for. He's got like 100,000 people who listen to each show. He had me on the show once, and he's given me a ton of shout outs and promotes a lot of my stuff on Twitter. So those two guys are the top, like the amount that they have really pushed me into this space and given me a platform. I won't ever be able to repay them. But I'm trying, especially with Ryan, because he doesn't have a platform anywhere really. So a few of us are brave enough to keep having him on because what he talks about is important. And I know, Ryan's a bit quirky or whatever, but I don't care. Like the stuff that guy has researched and the knowledge he has is just unparalleled. So I'm going to continue to have him on the show. I know I've already brought him up once, but a guy that I came across this year, Adam Fitzgerald, he's like, he's pretty much as knowledgeable as like Ryan Dawson. He's just got one of those brains like Ryan and Scott Horton. He can just rattle off information forever. And he's a really valuable guy. I'm going to have him on the show a bunch more coming up this coming year. Scott Horton, just mentioned, I've had him on several times. That guy is like the North Star, the shining light of libertarianism. Like that is the guy that we all should aspire to be like. And I'm really honored to have had him on the show, and that will continue into the future. There's really, I'd say like 99% of my interactions on my show with all my guests have been really great. There's been a few unfortunate falling outs, but we won't talk about those tonight. But by and large, the vast majority of people I've been really impressed with. I've met a lot of them in person. And they're just really great people. They're not just good researchers. They're not just good journalists. They're not just good speakers. They're also actually really decent human beings. And that's been really cool to see. I'm actually going to meet Ryan Dawson in person. Eric Jackman and I are going to the, I think it's the anti-APAC convention in March. So we're going to see Ryan down there. So that'll be cool. Get to actually meet him in person. But all my Tower Gang boys, Clint from Liberty Lockdown, he kind of sprang out of nowhere just like I did in the beginning of this year. And he's been even more successful than me. He's been on Tim Pool. He's had all sorts of crazy guests. Dave Rubin, tons of people. He's got a great show, and he's become one of the best friends I've ever had, really. And then Jose Gallison of the No Way Jose podcast, another great dude. I want to talk about just being unabashedly honest. That guy will just tell you whatever he thinks, regardless of the consequences. Then we got Toad and Fat Dave. Those guys have been great. I've met both of them in person. They're tons of fun. And all these guys aren't just fun. They're actually loyal. They're actually like good people. They're not just shitlords online. Tommy Salmons, the Year Zero podcast, great guy. Had him on the show a couple times, been on his a couple times. Quincy, another truck driver. Top Lobster. I know we give each other a lot of shit online, but he's a real good friend. And we're business partners now in a way. Like he makes all the merchandise for the show, which you guys should go check out at toplobster.com. There's a whole naturalist capitalist section you can check out now. Shirts, stickers, sweatshirts, all that type of stuff. I know I'm going to forget people, but just it's been amazing, like being part of this community. It's been humbling, and it's also given me a lot of pride at the same time to be amongst these people, and also to have gained their trust and their respect and their favor. It's just been really cool. And I never imagined that anything like this could have already, I never imagined that my podcast could be this successful already. It's just insane. So since I have this audience that I have, instead of just blowing smoke all the time, I am going to try to talk about important things and steer the ship in a direction that other people won't. That's why I have people like Ryan on the show. That's why I, bolster voices like Adam Fitzgerald. That's why, I have the guests I do, and I talk about the things I do, because I could kind of go down the more fringe conspiracy route or the more conservative route, or pick your route. What any one of them I could choose, and I could probably get more views and more publicity. But I don't understand why someone would want publicity unless they're actually trying to push people toward the truth, and that's really what I want to do. And I value quality and content over personality. So, some people are really fun and, easy to have on and easy to talk to, but I'd rather talk to people who are really digging into the research and trying to find out what's going on, even if they're not as popular, if they're not as funny or whatever. Like, I think that it's almost my job to put a more positive face on it and try to bring people in those directions. So that's what I'm going to try to do with the audience I've gained. And I've noticed that I do have a pretty loyal audience. Like, a lot of you guys, have stuck through some of my takes that most people don't like. I say a lot of controversial things, have a lot of controversial guests, but I think that's why you guys like this show. And that's what I'm going to keep doing. We're not going to be a cancelable show here. Like, if there are guests that I have that people don't like, they don't have to watch the show. If there are spats between friends that I have, I don't care. I'm going to keep, like, I know Dave and Ryan had a thing a couple weeks ago. I don't care. Like, they're both still welcome on my show. I don't care if one of your best friends has done something terrible to me. I don't do guilt by association. So if you yourself have something important to say, I'm going to keep having you on. And, I don't care about, like, there's going to be fracture and there's going to be drama. I don't care. Like, I'm not interested in getting involved in that. And sometimes I don't have a choice and I have to address it, but I really try to stay out of that shit because it's just counterproductive and it's not important. So if you guys have any questions, if you want to start crafting them now, I'll ramble for another minute or so, and then I'll get into any questions you guys have. But I really like the branding that my show has now. Like, I didn't ever expect to really get into any of the conspiracy or even that heavily into the foreign policy stuff, but that's a direction it's gone. And I really actually like that, because I do think it's the foreign policy stuff is actually the most important. And I've always thought that, but I just never thought I would be a show that had any authority on that subject. But I have so many guests that I can continue to have on here that can direct us in that, push us in the right direction or whatever. And it is something I really do care about. So it's been cool to see that become a huge part of this show. And then just kind of being a bastion of free speech here. Like, you can say whatever you want. And we've only had one video removed. So we'll see how that goes. All right, let's see. Get into some questions here. Reed, I would love to share your Here's Your Savior video to this bully who was for Trump 2024. And I believe he mocks my 13-year-old president on his stutter to see what he thinks now on Trump. I believe he mocks my 13-year-old president on his stutter to see what he thinks now of Trump. Yeah, I'm not sure I completely understand that question, but yeah, Trump, I put out a clip on Twitter saying, "Here's your savior." I think it was about the vaccines, because Trump is a huge proponent of the vaccines. And he always was. This was what was so weird to me, like seeing the liberals go so hard for the vaccines and the conservatives so hard against it. Because I remember, like, a year ago, Trump was bragging, we'll have this thing out in weeks, even though it's supposed to take years. And now that argument is flipped. Like, the conservatives are, oh, this has only been out for months. How do we know it's going to be safe? And the liberals have the opposite attitude. But Trump's been pretty consistent on that throughout. And I just think it's funny seeing everyone just kind of flip on it. But yeah, he's an idiot. Let's see. Here, I'll pull these up here. We got Fat Dave. Reed, what are your predictions for Tower Power Hour? Well, I think we should get rid of that guy, Fat Dave. I don't really know what he adds to the show personally. If we're trying to find laughs or intellect, I'm not really sure, what he's doing on there. No, I think, I don't know. Tower Power Hour is one of those weird things where all we do is kind of roll the camera and then act retarded, and people love it. So as long as we keep doing that, I think it'll keep getting popular because there's nothing fake about that show. It's just, full retard strength on full display. Let's see. May the Four Horsemen continue into 2022 as a refreshing show. That it will. We're already scheduled for January 16th. James Corbett is our fourth horseman, so that's going to be pretty cool. The thing I really like about the Naturalist Capitalist is how much of a reflection of your personality and interests it is, Reed. Your content is very genuine and humble in the same way you are. Well, thank you. I definitely appreciate that. Every seed of liberty like this one is vital and important. Keep up the good fight. You got it, man. Won't be slowing down here. Reed, let's see. I'm not vetting these, so we'll see what happens. Reed, I got a question. Thoughts on the Colorado trucker case? Judge reduced his sentence by 100 years. Yeah, so in case anyone doesn't know about this, I don't remember the guy's name. Unfortunately, this happened when I was really busy with a bunch of holiday stuff, so I didn't have a ton of time to look into it. But I forget where in Colorado it was, but this guy lost his brakes, and apparently correct me if I'm wrong in the live stream, but apparently he knew he had a faulty trailer and he still took it anyway. And he lost his brakes going down a hill, and then he blew by the runaway truck ramp. So he had an opportunity to avert disaster. He would have ruined his truck still. He still could have gotten hurt, but he would have been off the road, and he didn't take it. And then I think he killed 4 people. I'm really fuzzy on the details, but he ended up running into a bunch of the cars at the bottom of the mountain. And so he got 110, I think it was 100-year sentence. And I think it was a minimum sentencing with all the charges that he was convicted of. I think the judge actually didn't have much of a choice. And a bunch of truckers went on strike saying they wouldn't go into Colorado unless this was overturned. So I think it was today he's been reduced 10 years. I forget if it was, no, I think it was 110 years and now it's down to 100 years. Obviously, I'm not like super up to date on the details here, but from what I saw, like he should be getting some sort of severe punishment because he knew the trailer was faulty and he did not use the runaway truck ramp. So it's not like this was just, oh shit, something bad happened and there was nothing I could do. And then he just hit some unsuspecting drivers. Like this could have been avoided in a couple different ways and he didn't do anything about it. So I think this might be unpopular, but I think he should be in deep trouble. Maybe not 100 years, but he should be going to jail. That's my opinion. Let's see. Where do you see everyone in the liberty sphere going right now as far as their growing influence? Wow, that's quite a question. Well, I think Dave is becoming the new face of the liberty movement, which I think is great because, he's got all the knowledge, but he's also like a young, energetic, funny guy. I'm really glad to see Scott Horton becoming more prominent. I don't know. I don't want to name everybody. It would take a long time, but I'll just say I'm really glad to see Scott and Dave becoming super mainstream prominent voices because we've had losers in the past. If you could recommend a single episode for someone who wasn't familiar with your show to watch, which show would it be? I'd say probably the Four Horsemen with Dave Smith or the one we just did with Mike Rivero. Those are both really good. And if not that one, maybe the episode of Peter Schiff. One of those 3. Those are like pretty easy for low information people who just want to know what's going on. I'd say any one of those. Let's see. Glad to hear that Del frickin' Tur Four Horsemen with Scott Horton is the answer to that. I don't know what that was an answer to, but that is a great show. You guys have got to go check that one out. That was one of the best shows I've done. Beard looks good, brother. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. I do this throughout the winter. Last summer, I brought the mustache back again. What I was doing is I was actually clean shaving every year in the summer. And then in 2020, I decided to try the mustache, and then that just became a trademark. So I kind of went with it. Thanks for honoring the 9/11 victims with the content during the 20th anniversary. Oh yeah, with just the content in general. Okay. Yeah, no, you're welcome. I thought you meant on the day, and I didn't remember what show I did, but yeah, no, I think it's important that we know what actually happened there. Look up Blackstone Intelligence. Jake also got censored. I can't tell what that's supposed to mean. Let's see. Since you're on the road and see more than the average Joe, are you seeing more or less compliance from the normies? You mean like COVID wise or driving wise? COVID wise, I don't see much anywhere. Like even in California, if you're in a rural area, nobody's following the mandates. Everyone's kind of doing whatever they want. If you mean DOT wise, the DOT has been kind of slack the last year and a half because they want fewer human-to-human interactions. So there's been a little bit less enforcement going on. Let's see. Abby, Martin, and Ryan are perfect for foreign policy. Yes, they are. And those guys are both great. I would love to get them on the show together. Ryan doesn't play well with others sometimes, but I'd love to get him on with her. I also really want to get him on with Jason Burmis. I'm not sure that's going to happen right now because it looked like it was going to happen, and then things got kind of ugly. So I don't know. I would love for that to happen, though. That'd be cool. Now we got a super chat here. Just joined the stream. Do you have any thoughts on this Eric dude being endorsed by Heiss instead of Josh Smith for the VC position? All right, so I'm going to mostly stay out of this, but I'll just make one comment. I'm not going to elaborate too much, but I'm not impressed with this Eric guy. I think if people, I like Josh Smith. He's a friend of mine, so I support him. But if people don't want Josh Smith because they don't think he plays well with others or something, then you got to find someone better than this Eric guy. That's my opinion. So I don't like this Eric guy. I do like Josh, but if you don't want Josh, find someone better than the guy you've chosen. When are you going to start making TikToks? Never. Let's see. Got one from Adam here. What are your thoughts about the libertarian movement's near future? What would you like to see or change in the near future? So I am one of the guys who doesn't really care about the party. So if you're going to run as a Republican because it makes more sense in your state, I think that's cool. So I just think whatever route you can go to get elected and make a change. But as far as the Libertarian Party goes, in 2022, I'd like to at least see a good amount of state legislature victories around the country, So whether you're Libertarian in name or Republican in name only as a Libertarian or Democrat as a Libertarian, if that happens, I would just like to see some sort of surge in state legislatures. I think, Larry Sharp made a good point that we really don't need many people in Congress to be like the Joe Manchin who kind of forces the deciding vote. And that was a good point. I think, so I don't know, maybe we could win a congressional seat or a senator or something, but I'm much more hopeful for state to state. I think this country is on the way out. So I care a lot more who my governor, who my state legislature, who my mayor, who those people are than, who my congressman or who the president is. So I'm going to be focusing more on local, but if we could get someone into the federal office, certainly not against that. That would be cool. Let's see. Trump can pom the jab all he wants as long as he is just as adamant in his position against mandates. Just roll your eyes at him. That's true. I will admit, Trump has every time he's had the caveat of no one should be forced to get it. That is true. A lot of people are overlooking that. I've tried to figure out libertarian politics through you and your guests. I'm more confused than when I started. It seems like no one agrees on one single thing. Yikes. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think libertarians we split hairs over dumb shit. Like we should be kind of trying to focus on the big issues. So I'll describe libertarianism to you in my way. I think it's um, decentralization and peace is the best way you can describe it. So instead of having a few people control a lot of people, you want government as decentralized as it can be so that as many people are in as much control of themselves as they can be. And then then peace is the other side of that. So non-aggression, only defending yourself. So if you have people who don't want to control others and they want to live peacefully, then you'll have a society that flourishes. That's like the most dumbed down, kind of simplified way to describe it. Okay. Good question. Guys at work were talking about it, said he didn't take a runaway ramp. So yeah, we're talking about the truck driver there. Let's see. 4 people burned alive. Yeah, so he killed 4 people. So I think he should go to jail, maybe not for 100 years, but he should be getting punished. I think I think a manslaughter charge is completely fair. Let's see. Best Dave quote: "The LP is just a vehicle for liberty. Party doesn't matter." I agree with Dave. Mike Rivero was a really good one too. Yeah, Mike Rivero was one of the best guests I've had on here. He's in the top 10 videos already, even though it was only a couple weeks ago. So he's, really brought us a lot of views. That guy is a genius, foreign policy, 9/11, all sorts of different stuff. So definitely go check him out. Whatreallyhappened.com. Let's see. Thanks for having Ryan on. He's a true Southern patriot, and most people shy away from any pro-South voices. Yeah, see, I'm not even. I'm a New Hampshire guy from the North, so I don't really care. Like, I think it's weird that people get so triggered over what he has to say. I just don't really get triggered. I don't agree with Ryan on everything. I don't really disagree with much of what he says about the Civil War. I think he's right that it wasn't about slavery. The North used the Civil War as a catalyst for Reconstruction and, disgusting corporate overtake of the economy. And slavery probably would have ended, around the same time anyway. It was being phased out all around the world. So I don't know. I don't really agree with much. I don't really disagree with too much of what he says about the Civil War. And people who, will make that a dividing point, I think are kind of missing the forest for the trees. Let's see. I think Ron Paul is a name recognition, and Adam Kokesh would pick John McAfee as his VP last year. Just my advice on Dave Smith. Yeah, I mean, I think that Justin Amash would be the best libertarian president. So if we had someone who could actually become president, he makes the most sense because he's worked in Congress. He knows how the system works. He'd be a great president. But to me, 2024 is not about winning. It's about, kind of breaking through, spreading a message, getting on alternative platforms because we're going to be censored from the mainstream. So to me, Dave is the perfect guy for 2024. But like if it got to the point where we could have a libertarian president, I think Justin Amash should be fine for president. Let's see. We got Read Rules. Thanks, man. Appreciate the super chat. I got one from Razorburn. Sorry, Reed. Allowing a platform for discussing 9/11 as the shows with Adam, Ryan, Nelson were great, and having Burmis was fair. Yeah, I would like to have Jason back on again. I certainly understand why Ryan doesn't like him, or why Nelson or Adam don't like him. I completely get it. I really do, because he's kind of discrediting a ton of work that you guys have done. So I totally get it. But I personally have nothing against Jason. I would like to have him back on again and talk to him. Like I said earlier, like there's a lot of drama and rifts between people, and I don't really care. Like I want to talk to everybody. So as long as they're not involving me, I don't really care. Let's see. What is more gay, Toad or Cole? Oh, 100% Cole. Fat Dave is the gayest. There's no doubt. The most gay. Let's see. I felt more starstruck being able to chat live with Maria Farmer than any celebrity I've ever met. Talk about a warrior. Yeah, that was crazy. She hasn't done too many interviews either. I was really honored that she was willing to come on this show and talk about her experience with Epstein and Maxwell. That is that's a case that I've kind of taken up over the last couple months just because I realized how little anyone knows about it. Like they think they were just kind of this demented couple who wanted wealth and power. They don't realize any state-backed connections through the Wexner Foundation or the Mega Group. They don't know about them running guns for Khashoggi for Saudi Arabia, the rape yachts. They don't know about any of that stuff. So, and even if you don't include that, they don't even know how deep the corruption goes with names. Like they don't know Prince Andrew was involved. They don't know Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, Les Wexner, Ehud Barak, the Blacks, Bill Richardson. None of that is really known by anybody. They just think, oh, it was these couple who trafficked kids, and that's about where the story drops off. So it's been really, I think it's been really important to. Sorry, my throat's kind of dry. It's been really important to bring that to light. So it was really an honor to have her on the show. Okay, let's see. We'll do two more, and I'll wrap it up. Let's see. We got one about Burmis. Burmis ain't dumb, and his work isn't all bad. Just would have preferred he be honest and own up to being wrong. As I'll admit, I drank the Kool-Aid early on. Example, the Pentagon. Yeah, so if you watch my video with him, I do think he's not willing to admit that a plane hit the Pentagon or crashed in Pennsylvania. It's pretty obvious in my video. Like I kind of refuted everything he was saying about big pieces of the plane being found or bodies being found. I think, he's kind of built himself into a corner with 9/11 truth. Like if he ends up admitting any of the official story is true, he's going to lose a lot of supporters. So again, I agree that that's probably the case, and I understand why that pisses certain people off. It's just not, even though I talk about 9/11 truth, it's not like my source of income or this huge thing that I've personally been uncovering. It's just something that interests me. So I don't I don't hold anything against him, I guess. Let's see. Anyone else got another last minute question? Let's see, what's this? What a great year. Next year will reveal the weak spots going into 2024. Yep. It's like, you're right. All right, guys. Well, my voice is kind of dry. I'm kind of losing my voice. I don't know why this is happening right now. But anyway, I hope you guys all had a good year. I know it was hard for a lot of people. Like I said, it was one of the best years of my life. I'm looking forward to 2022. Stay tuned for big interviews coming up there. Oh, by the way, I just want to throw this out here. The one guy that I really want to get on the show is Mike Rowe. And I've been on the threshold twice. I've had two people who have gotten me like to the door, and then it's been closed in my face, basically. So if anyone knows someone who knows Mike Rowe or knows any way to get me on that, or to get me to him to have him on my show, please hook me up. I just saw his interview with John Stossel, and it was basically exactly what I want to talk to him about. He would be the quintessential guest for this show. So if any of you guys know how to connect with him or connect me to him, that'd be great. But all right, guys, Happy New Year. I will catch you later.